This week on Full Circle Florida, risky business. President Trump's Middle East trip secures billions of dollars worth of deals. How will it boost the U.S. economy, and is it dangerous doing business in the Middle East? Trade truce, the U.S.-China 90-day tariff pause. Is it good or bad for the economy, and what's the real impact on your wallet? Tallahassee standoff. Our Capitol correspondent, Saunders, dives deep into the DeSantis clash with the legislature and the early buzz in 2026 on who may be running for governor. And Trump's executive order aims to slash big pharma drug prices, but can it really deliver this time? Welcome in here to Full Circle Florida, everyone. A major development in the U.S.-China trade war this week. Both nations agreed to a 90-day pause on sky-high tariffs. So, what does that mean for you? I spoke with financial expert Bill Hennessy. Bill, are we getting close to an actual deal with China?
It's not just my opinion. I think you can take the opinion as demonstrated by the market behavior this morning. As soon as the word came out that we're going to have this 90-day hiatus and we're going to have tariffs at 30%, 10%, and we're going to wait for a while, the market surged. People are excited because they're looking forward to some good news that things are going to get more stable. So this is kind of the sign that things are approaching that stability that investors and individuals need on this China-U.S. trade deal.
There are still some tariffs in place, though, 30% and 10%. And I know the details are still yet to be worked out exactly. But what would this mean for the economy going forward? And you see us actually getting to a place where there's a firm deal in place, not just a pause?
While those proponents of total free trade don't even like a 30%, 10% tariff, it sure is a whole lot better than the 185% tariffs or some of the other numbers that were thrown out there. And who would have thought that even the 80% that was floated on the weekend would look good compared to where we've been? And so this means that business people are able to go about doing business again. At those higher tariff rates, we effectively had an embargo in trading with China. People who were ordering from China couldn't afford to do so or paused to see what was going to happen. And with this 90-day pause, it gives an opportunity to do things, even if they think it's not going to be permanent. We have 90 days to stock our shelves and get ready for the next round.
Do we know yet, though, Bill, if we're any better off than before Trump started this trade war? Are we getting something out of this that perhaps business owners can really take home with confidence and can start hiring and expanding?
I believe that we have eliminated that effective embargo between China and the U.S. with these rates. Even at this level, if they were to stay here, this is workable. People can work around this and still plan for the future, do orders, make longer term commitments. And the hope is that this is something that stays in some form or fashion and is worked out in the next 90 days. Now, keep in mind that anything can happen within 90 days, but China and the U.S., it's like brothers tussling. We don't want to kill each other, but sometimes it doesn't feel fair. You have to give each other a little shove and straighten things out. And I think that we both shove, and we don't want to get into an all-out brawl because neither side is going to win that. And so this is a sign that things are getting back to normalcy. Now, as far as are we better off or not, history is going to write that for us. But of all the countries that came to the table and negotiated, overall, the U.S. is in a better trading position. People may argue on what we've done to our international reputation and our friendships that may be damaged because of the way we negotiated, yet they can't argue with the fact that the negotiations did lead to a better deal with many of these countries, with the U.S. being the benefactor and the countries themselves having a knowledge that they are okay, at least for now. That's a positive for the trade. So for the individual consumer, we're going to be able to continue to order those things that we love to get from China at the prices we love. All right, a little higher, but not so high we can't afford them, not so high that we effectively have an embargo.
Any advice on what people should do over the next few months while this is on pause and maybe heading toward a permanent deal? I know this sort of made a lot of people worry. They may have stopped contributing to their 401ks. What would you tell folks?
This type of tariffs on, tariffs off, you tariff me, I tariff you, okay, no tariffs. It has created almost a schizophrenic looking market. Way up, way down, way up, way down. And it's caused some people to step away from the market. Yet all this volatility has probably been a blessing to those who are consistently adding to the market, who were able last week and last month to buy at a lower price, and now they're seeing the recovery happen in their portfolio. Those who usually get hurt in markets are those who trade after the fact, who allow the emotions when things are down, sell low. And then when everybody's happy, they get back in. Consistency has oftentimes been the investor's best friend.
And meanwhile, what the point of all of this was, I guess time will tell as the details unfold. Bill Dindy, thank you for your insight. Appreciate it. All right, let's bring in our political analyst, Dr. Susan McManus. So, yeah, the question I'm left with when I think about the China-U.S. trade war is, what was the point of all of this? Because Walmart came out this week and said, basically, get ready, we're going to have to raise the prices. What are we getting out of this?
A 90-day pause was extremely important, and one of the reasons you had a 90-day pause is there was something in the pause for both countries. China's economy, as we well know, is not that great, and of course, U.S. is their biggest market. On the other side, the president was getting massive blowback from the business community, all types of businesses, and the polls were showing Americans were really against these really high tariffs. So a 90-day pause was a good win for each of them. The question is, how long will it last? Yeah. Will it be even negotiated down even more, the tariffs reduced, or what?
Doesn't it feel like he's done, though? It feels like Trump wants to put this behind. I mean, I don't see him going back to a trade standoff. I see this kind of like dissolving away and
I would agree, because from the get-go, the argument, we talked about it, is the fact that he's always seen tariffs as a negotiating technique. You start with the extreme and you come to the middle and you get better cooperation with whomever you're trying to convince.
He's got to sell the American people on what the payoff is, and I guess we'll see it when we see it. But the president's Middle East trip was a big deal. I don't know if it got the coverage it deserved this week in the national media. He's engaging with former enemies like Syria's leader, who may have American blood on his hands. Is this diplomacy of deal-making risky business? He essentially is opening up the Middle East, the most volatile region on the planet, to business, and maybe money is the great unifier. It's extremely interesting, but could it be risky?
Of course it could be risky, but on the other hand, Americans were stunned, and in a positive way. Wow, a president's really just going one-on-one, going over there. The countries were also stunned. And let's face it, people are really wearisome of the constant fighting between countries, not to mention our own countries, people fighting with each other. The war in Ukraine and the Russia, they're tired of international conflicts. So to a lot of people, they were stunned. But on the other hand, how long will this last?
You're right.
Because there is always that fear that, you know, the other countries will step right back into their old ways of fighting with each other and with us.
Is it safe selling fireworks to the Middle East, but maybe money's the great unifier, and we stop fighting, we all make a bunch of money. We'll see how it plays out. Dr. Susan McManus, hang with me and hang with us. Next on Full Circle Florida, Governor DeSantis clashes with lawmakers in Tallahassee. Plus, who's running for governor in 2026? We'll get into it next. Welcome back in, everyone, here to Full Circle Florida. Let's bring in Tallahassee correspondent for Saunders. Forrest, Governor DeSantis and the legislature clashing over these budget and tax cuts. Will they resolve this before July 1st?
That's the $100 billion question, Paul. We really don't know for sure, but it looks like they are making progress. At least that's what they're saying in memos that they sent earlier in the week. They basically said that they were making some progress, but they are both in agreement that they don't need to be here throughout the next week, right? So they are saying lawmakers should not anticipate coming back to Tallahassee until at least after Memorial Day. That slims the timeline even further for them to get to a deal, because you got to remember, right now we're in extended session and it's set to wrap up technically June 6th. Now the House wants to go all the way to the 30th. They have already passed a resolution to make that happen, but the Senate is not in alignment with that. So for now, the deadline for them to really do something is June 6th. Senate President Ben Albritton said in his memo he believes there is some progress. We don't know what that looks like or how that's going to shake out, but time is now ticking to avoid Florida's first true government shutdown.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have a budget before hurricane season, which is just a couple of weeks away. Meanwhile, the 2026 governor's race, who is emerging as the top contenders, starting to get a little crowded.
I mean, It is. The only one that is truly, fully in the race we know of is U.S. Congressman Byron Donalds, who has got President Donald Trump's endorsement, but you've got other names that have really started to pop up here in the last couple of weeks. One of them is former minority leader over in the Senate, turned independent, Senator Jason Pizzo. He told CBS Miami just a few days ago that he was interested in making a bid and that he was going to pursue one. He was, in fact, running. And so now, is he going to be able to steal some votes away from Republicans, Democrats? We don't know, but now we've got an independent candidate in the race. You've got David Jolly, former GOP congressman turned recent Democrat. He says he's really close to announcing a bid, and what that would look like is potentially you've got a front runner for the Democratic Party, but they did try this a few years ago. You might remember with Charlie Crist. He was a former Republican turned Democrat. Didn't really work out for the party. Maybe Jolly will have a little bit more luck. There is still speculation that Casey DeSantis might get into this race. She has not said fully no yet, but when she keeps getting asked at press conferences whether she's going to get in, she's kind of punting. She's saying, well, right now we got to focus on what's going on in the legislature. They got to get a budget done, and there's still plenty of time. We're not even close to qualifying yet, so it doesn't sound like she's made a decision yet, and there is some reporting out there suggesting maybe she's backing away from the idea since all of that Hope Florida stuff spilled out into the press. We'll have to see what happens there. But yes, it is a growing field of candidates as we get closer and closer to 2026.
Early buzz and still a long way to go for Saunders. Joining us from Tallahassee, thank you. Next on Full Circle Florida, President Trump promising to slash prescription drug prices, but will Big Pharma play ball? Welcome back. President Trump signed an executive order this week to lower those skyrocketing drug prices, but will Big Pharma finally give Americans a break? Here's my conversation with Dr. Bill Hennessy. We've heard promises before from politicians from both parties to slash these drug prices. In fact, during the Biden administration, they started negotiating with Big Pharma to lower the cost. So how is this executive order from President Trump any different than what Biden was starting to do?
Well, first of all, President Trump is not a politician. He's a businessman who happens to be our president. What is different with this executive order is it is a directive to two key federal agencies, Health and Human Services, run by Robert F. Kennedy, and the Food and Drug Administration, led by a caring MD. How about that for a change? Dr. Marty McCary. And the goal here is to have these drugs be sourced from around the world so we could get the same best deals some other country can. If you say, why hasn't this happened before? The answer is the Food and Drug Administration was, I believe, in some way, shape, or form, lobbied to say the quality of the drugs from Canada isn't good enough. Well, it's good enough for Canadians, but not Americans. And those same exact drugs at the same doses in Europe, well, maybe good enough for Europeans, but it's not good enough for us. Wink, wink, says the FDA, paid by the lobbyists. At this time, we're going to get this through because I just mentioned three names of three leaders who are not influenced by that lobbying money. And it's a global economy, and we can expand that to drugs.
Well, when you talk about lobbying money, because I think that's very interesting and very accurate, that money was probably lobbying and twisting the arms of members of Congress. Can Trump do this on his own? We've seen with these other executive orders, they get the ball rolling, but they're not exactly magic wands. There's either a court fight or a tough negotiation that has to play out. So while he's claiming he's going to cut drug costs by, I think he said 80%, are the drug companies just going to bow down to the president, or is this going to be the beginning of a long fight? I
appreciate your pessimism because I just met you, but you're like me. You're paying more money every year for health care. And you're just waving a BS flag. I get it. What's different is look, there is no law preventing this from happening, okay? If there was a law blocking the Food and Drug Administration from acquiring drugs at a lower price, then we'd say, oh gosh, Paul and Dr. Bill here would say, man, now we got to go through Congress. It's going to be a fight. It's not going to happen. There's no law blocking this. So as long as President Trump and Dr. Marty Makary, the head of the FDA, say it's a go, it's a go. And that's refreshing to me. That's a beacon of hope.
So the president has got to apply pressure on Big Pharma to get what he wants, and ultimately what he wants for the American people and what they want with big savings that would, many would say is long overdue, as we've talked about here. Anyone who's been to the hospital or has a family member that's been to the hospital knows that they charge these outrageous prices for common drugs, $50 for a Tylenol. I mean, it's completely dysfunctional. It's a joke. So do you honestly see this happening this time, where he's going to get these pharmaceutical companies to accept, I don't know what, lower profit margins? I mean, are they going to have to give up some of their money?
Accept might be a strong word. They're going to have to learn to live with it. I highly predict the drug manufacturers are going to sue the federal government for governing for the American people. Sounds crazy, but we know it's coming. But this is going to happen. Just to give you one more sniff test to pass to say this has teeth and substance, in America we'll see lower drug prices later this year. The Department of Justice, as well as the Federal Trade Commission, both with significant federal authority, have sued the pharmacy benefit management companies for illegal drug price fixing. The Department of Justice has also sued the drug manufacturers for illegal drug price fixing. I've never seen this in my career where the lobbying money didn't get its way. So on the one hand, we have the administration pursuing illegal drug price fixing to punish those doing wrong. And on the other hand, we also have them seeking solutions actively right now by sourcing drugs globally.
Well, as they say, or he says, he wrote the book, Art of the Deal, Sticks, Carrots, and Courts, may be where this whole thing plays out, and going around Congress and a president willing to do just that. Dr. Bill Hennessy, thank you for your insight. Really appreciate it. Okay, let's bring in our political analyst, Dr. Susan McManus, back in. So a huge thing happening in Congress right now that I don't know if a lot of folks understand, the tax cut debate. High earners, the middle class could get some perks out of this. But there's a chance that some of this stuff could dissolve like candy once Trump leaves office. Some of it is permanent. But the Democrats seem to be in a political catch-22, because if they don't go along with this, then taxes get raised on everyone.
Right, and so Democrats are focusing more on the proposed cuts in Medicaid and work requirements. But in terms of the taxes themselves, there's a couple that really are notable for helping, middle-class people that were part of the president's platform.
No taxes on tips.
Right, no taxes on overtime.
Yeah.
Deduction for your interest that you pay on a car loan if it's assembled in America, things like that.
Is that stuff permanent, or does that go away?
Those three things are not permanent. Okay. They would go away at the end of his term. But the standard deduction that is proposed would go up, and that would be permanent.
If this passes, this could be a huge boost to the economy, right?
Yes.
Provide some certainty as to what we're going to be doing over the next few years?
The certainty is very, very important. But it's all part of a big bill called the Big Beautiful.
Yeah, I know. I know.
Bill.
He's got
Act.
away with words.
and spending is another part of it, and that's another fight. Right now, the Republicans are fighting amongst each other about how much to do on the Medicaid and the SALT, the state and local government tax reductions. We don't have it so much in Florida because we don't have an income tax. And so the Republicans that are in tough seats are fighting with the rest of them, and yet the Republicans can only lose 3 votes.
So they do need the Democrat support. All right. Dr. McManus, thank you for being with us here this week. We'll be right back after this. Thanks for watching us this week on Full Circle Florida. We'll see you again next week.